On this day, 1 year ago, definitely not because I forgot to upload this footage, I played for a wedding gig. But not just any wedding. This was the wedding of the daughter of esteemed New Zealand wrestler, the Hilliard Hammer, Chauncey Welliver, whom I happen to share a birthday with. You really can't make this up. The circumstances in which I got this gig were also interesting. Chauncey's wife somehow happens to know the wife of my sister's violin teacher, and so said wife of my sister's violin teacher talked to my university's trumpet professor looking for trumpet players for this gig, and he put my name in for consideration. And word reaches my dad while my sister is at her violin lesson, and he texts me telling me, "Hey Sam, you got a gig." So how did this 19-year-old trumpet casual/engineering major, who'd only done a couple of very vaguely gig-like things in the past year, take this news? I was a little nervous, one could say, but I called up Mrs. Welliver and discussed with her what it was that she wanted at her daughter's wedding, and again, this came out of left field. Mrs. Welliver only wanted one song. It was her daughter's favorite song, All You Need Is Love by the Beatles. Not what I expected to play at a wedding, but, I was happy to do it. I negotiated a few more details with her. Things were left fairly open for me, which makes me extra nervous for this whole thing, but I take to the local musicians forum on Facebook and just ask, hey, does anybody who plays brass want to do this with me? Not knowing really what I'm getting into or what anybody would be getting into by signing up, because all of my university trumpet player friends were off for the summer and I was the only one who lived locally and therefore could take this gig. And I hear back from a couple of older players in the area, professional players, whom I'd wanted to play with for years, and it's kind of interesting how the whole networking thing works, isn't it? After a good few listens to the tune, I kind of decided that our best bet, with 4 of us that signed up, would be 3 trumpets and the trombonist, understandably, on trombone, and that turned out to be a reasonable instrumentation. It was a little thin, arranging this for only 4 voices total, and it meant all of us were going to have to be playing at all times pretty much, so it was difficult to work it all in, and transcribing this piece was a real bear considering it oscillates rather drunkenly between a few different time signatures, but somehow I got an arrangement working and somehow we sounded all right with it. So after very, very limited rehearsal, we went up to the far north end of town and played.
I now pronounce you husband and wife. Nate, you may kiss your bride.
All in all, it was definitely not a perfect performance. We hadn't rehearsed it all outdoors, and some things went well, some things went less well. I personally do a really bad job of performing outdoors. I tend to think I need to play louder than I do, and rather than sounding louder, I spread my chops, and my sound just kind of goes all ways and fizzles into the distance rather than actually projecting out to the audience. And it was kind of a difficult thing, to be honest, to try and cobble together. But I can't complain about how it turned out. Like I said, it was a difficult arrangement. Our poor trombonist, Jacob, was having to go between being a bass line to a lead vocalist to everything in between, but he did really, really well. The trumpets, I felt, locked together well. It was a really fun section to play with. Man, Tim and Mike are... Yeah, they're a lot older than me, but they're, little boys at heart, and they act like typical trumpet players. We had a lot of laughs in rehearsal, and of course as soon as I talked to Jacob about anything, they turn to each other and start talking about what horn and mouthpiece they play on, because they're trumpet players, of course. But it was such a fun experience to work with these three goofballs, and it was, despite them being goofballs, it was a really great and serious musical setting that we were able to put this together in a very short amount of time and limited, rehearsal ability. I'd never played with a brass ensemble at a wedding. I'd only done one with my violinist sister in the past, and man, we had a blast, I gotta say. The audience was, they were already tipsy and not terribly receptive, but, we did what we could, and the bride seemed to get a kick out of it, and the Wellivers were happy in the end, so we'll call it a success. I suppose the moral, if there is one, of this crazy, wacky story is that sometimes gigs pop up in literally the least expected places and ways. It's not every day that a professional heavyweight boxer happens to live in your humble town and have a daughter who's about to be married and requests that you form a Beatles-style horn line at her wedding, but such things happen, I suppose, and this was such an amazing opportunity to network. I got to meet essentially two local idols, Tim and Mike, and a friend of theirs, Jacob, who was also such an incredible player. Tim played with my high school's jazz band my senior year, and is just a tough-as-nails lead player. And Mike, on the other hand, is just an amazingly soulful player and soloist, and does a lot of that jazz-type stuff. I now sit next to him in the Spokane British Brass Band because I can't seem to avoid the doofus wherever I go. He's always there waiting for me. But I made great friends with these gentlemen, and they, I never would have expected at 19 years old to be meeting these older guys and playing with them and sharing laughs like old friends. It was really, really incredible. And that's the beauty of internet networking these days, is you never know. Maybe you, tomorrow, will be playing with your local idols. There's just no way to tell. And so this ended up being such a cool opportunity in a time where otherwise, for me, gigs were very, very sparse. So with all that said, I hope you've enjoyed this retelling of a rather crazy tale from my gigscape. I know I've enjoyed talking about this. It's been fun to rehash these old memories, and since then I've done plenty of stuff with Tim and Mike, and they're always a blast. Jacob, unfortunately, now lives a little farther south than we do, but in any case, it's been great to meet these guys and to rehash these old memories, and I hope you've enjoyed this more reflective vlog style content. It's not something I do a ton of, but if you enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and a comment letting me know. If you want to see more of this, make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. It's a small gesture with a huge impact on the channel, and it keeps me making this type of content for you. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you on the flip side.